In 1984, an 18-year-old girl named Elisabeth Fritzl was reported missing by her mother. Long before she disappeared into thin air, she was known for helping with work around the house. She enrolled in waitress school at the age of 15 after graduating from high school. Soon after she finished her waitress course, she was offered a job in the city of Linz, Austria. Elisabeth's nightmare started on that fateful day when she was called upon by her father, Josef Fritzl, to help him hang a door in the newly built underground cellar he'd been working on for so long. Elisabeth happily obliged, not knowing that this would be the last day that she would ever set her eyes on the sky. Upon arriving, she was permanently locked up and later became a sex slave at the hands of her biological father. Just like we know, it's important for parents to show compassion and watch out for their children, but that's just not the case with Josef Fritzl. For 24 years, Elisabeth could only see a filthy basement in total darkness, courtesy of her own father. If I could ask only one question, it would be, what suddenly went wrong between a father and his supposed daughter? From what was said, Elisabeth was a hard-working and a well-behaved daughter who desired only the best for her family. So what went wrong along the line? Was her father under the influence of alcohol or drugs? Did Elisabeth die in the cellar after 24 solid years of incarceration, or was she able to escape alive? Well, you'll find out in this suspense-filled story. But before we proceed, please kindly subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so that whenever we release a new video, you'll be the first to know. Josef Fritzl was born on April 9, 1935, in the town of Amstetten in Lower Austria. At age 21, he married Rosemary, who was born on September 23, 1939. Together, the couple had 3 sons and 4 daughters, including Elisabeth Fritzl, who was born on April 6, 1966. On the evening of August 28, 1984, Josef called his daughter down to the basement of their family home. He needed help refitting a door in the recently renovated underground cellar. Elisabeth held the door for him, and as soon as it was hinged, Josef forced Elisabeth inside and made her pass out with an ether-soaked towel. Josef was able to convince Rosemary that their daughter had run away to join a cult. Elisabeth's mother, Rosemary, filed a complaint for a missing person after Elisabeth's disappearance. Nearly a month later, Josef sent the police the first of several letters he had forced Elisabeth to write while she was incarcerated. In these letters, Elisabeth revealed how tired she was of living with her family and had moved in with a friend. She specifically warned her parents not to bother looking for her or else she would flee the country. Note that this was exactly her father's plan. For the next 24 years, Elisabeth Fritzl would only see the inside of the dirt-walled dungeon. Elisabeth's father continued to lie to her mother and the police, claiming that she'd run away and joined a cult. The police investigation into her whereabouts came to an end, and the public quickly forgot about the missing girl. Every morning at 9 a.m., Josef would go to the underground cellar to draw plans for the machines he would sell. On several occasions, he would spend the night there, but his wife was unconcerned because she thought her husband was a hard-working man who was devoted to his career. What an irony. For the first 2 years, Josef held Elisabeth captive and kept her in isolation without talking to her. He visited her in the underground cellar virtually every day, bringing her weekly rations of food and raping her repeatedly. During Elisabeth's second year in captivity, she got pregnant, but miscarried at 10 weeks. 2 years later, she became pregnant again and gave birth in August 1988 to a baby girl named Kirsten. In the subsequent years, her second child, a boy named Stefan, was born. During their mother's stay in the underground dungeon, Kirsten and Stefan stayed with her. In spite of the terrible situation, Elisabeth tried to teach them with the little education she had and also gave them a normal life, just like other kids. Later on, she gave birth to her third and fourth children. After the birth of the fourth child in 1994, Josef enlarged the underground cell from 35 square meters to 55 square meters, or 380 to 590 square feet, forcing Elisabeth and her children to dig the soil with their bare hands for years. Anytime he was provoked by Elisabeth, he cut off the power to the underground cellar and left her in the dark for days. Over the course of 24 years, Elisabeth Fritzl would give birth to 7 children, even though one died 66 hours after birth. And guess what? Instead of burying the child, Josef set his fragile body on fire in a nearby incinerator. What a father. 3 of the children, Kirsten, who was born in 1988, Stefan in 1990, and Felix in 2002, were forced to live in the underground cellar for their entire lives. They never saw the sun and were forced to witness their mother being beaten and treated in an appalling manner by their father. Josef made a plan for the other 3 children, namely Lisa, born in 1992, Monica, born in 1994, and Alexander, born in 1996, to be taken up to share an apartment with him and his wife. But in a bid to cover his tracks, Josef forced Elisabeth into writing to her mother, Rosemary, saying she was healthy but couldn't take care of the children, and begging her to take them in and raise them herself. Josef lied to their neighbors that Elisabeth left the children on the doorstep because she did not want to raise them in her sect. It's quite unknown how long Josef intended to keep his daughter as his sex slave. After all, he had kept her in an underground dungeon for 21 years and counting. Unfortunately, one of the children in the cellar became ill. Elisabeth pleaded with her evil father to permit her 19-year-old daughter Kirsten to receive medical care. Grudgingly, Josef agreed and set out to transport her to a hospital. He carried Kirsten out of the cellar and called an ambulance, claiming to have received a note from Kirsten's mother describing her situation. The police questioned Kirsten for a week and asked the general public for any information regarding her family, but no one came forward. The authorities became suspicious of Josef and reopened Elisabeth Fritzl's investigation. They read all the letters Josef claimed Elisabeth wrote and saw several inconsistencies. As luck might have it, he released Elisabeth from the underground cellar on April 26, 2008. She rushed to the hospital immediately to see her ailing child. Upon arriving, the medical staff alerted the authorities of her strange arrival. That evening, Elisabeth was arrested and interrogated about her daughter's ailment and her father's assertions. After making the promise that she would never have to see her father again, Elisabeth Fritzl gave an account of her 24 years of incarceration. She narrated how her father had held her captive in an underground cellar for 24 years and that she had given birth to 7 children. Over nearly a quarter century, he raped her at least 3,000 times, and their 7 children were forced to witness the cruelty. She explained how Josef would come down every night, force her to watch pornographic videos, and then rape her. She told the authorities that her father began molesting her when she was 11 years old. The police arrested Josef Fritzl that night. Following the arrest, Elisabeth's mother, Rosemary Fritzl, left the house, and the other kids in the underground cellar were freed. Obviously, the occupants who lived on the first floor of the Josef Fritzl apartment were unaware of what was going on below them, just like Rosemary. Currently, Elisabeth Fritzl resides in a secluded Austrian hamlet called Village X, where her home is continually monitored by CCTV and the police patrol team. The family restricts interviews at their home and refuses to conduct any themselves. Elisabeth's last photograph was taken when she was 16 years old, despite her current age of mid-50s. Efforts were made to disguise her new identity in order to keep her past concealed from the media and allow her to live her new life. So what then happened to Josef Fritzl? In court, Josef denied enslaving his daughter. His lawyer, Rudolf Meyer, tried to portray Josef as a good and devoted father who tried to protect his wayward child by isolating her from bad company and hard drugs. Despite all the cover-ups, in March 2009, Josef, at the age of 73, admitted to all of the charges against him and was given a life sentence. He is currently rotting away at Austria's Garsten Abbey jail. Understandably, Elisabeth had issues with her mother for her inability to stand up to her father, but the two have reconciled and are now living together. After years of mental health treatment, Elisabeth, age 52, fell in love with Thomas Wagner, a 29-year-old bodyguard, in 2019. What a happy ending. What do you think could have made a father treat his daughter in such an awful manner for a whopping 24 years? Do you think that Elisabeth will ever fully recover? Do you think there could have been worse punishment for Josef than life in prison? Let's hear what you think in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.